It is my pleasure to introduce you to Jaswinder Singh, who is a graduate of Capilano University, currently an employee of Capilano University. I worked with Jaswinder as an employee at Cap and while he was a student. And we really developed a bit of a relationship. He was such a great volunteer. He was always engaged with our student mobility or student mentorship program, and really just a super asset, not just as a student, but as a friend and a colleague, and in so many ways. So it's really a pleasure to connect with you today, Jazz. I wanted to have this session where we talk a little bit about student success, and because I knew you so well through your journey, I wanted to sort of chat a little bit about some of the things that made your experience, really a success, and also things that we could learn from, looking back on your experience. So I have a couple of questions for you that we'll get into pretty quickly. So thank you so much for joining us today.
First of all, I would also like to thank you, Donna, and M Square Media team, the communication team, for inviting me for this great opportunity. Also, as you just said, working, it was both sides, working with you and studying at Capilano, it was always fun. And my journey is great because you all are part of this great journey. Thank you for all the time. Whenever I need somebody, I know where I can reach it out. So thanks. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you for your compliments, but really, I think you deserve the accolades today. So just in terms of sort of reflecting back, I'd really like you to share some of the thinking that you had as a brand new international student. Can you describe anything that kind of you wish you knew before you arrived? Anything that really sort of surprised you or maybe even shocked you?
Yeah, there was a couple of things that, now if I look back, I wish I should know more about them. And one of the things was when getting a job, it will take some time. I didn't know about that. When I came as an international student, and I learned that we can only work on part-time basis, and then it took me a month or something to get that job. And for full-time one, it was always I applied to 115 jobs and only got 2 interviews. But the thing is, there will be other struggles for everybody, but the key is persistence here. You need to be very patient with every process or any challenge that you are going through your life. And for jobs, for example, you just need to work on waiting for a one yes. The moment you get it, everything will sort it out by that time. And one of the fun things that I always talk about, normally we hear that Canada is always cold, but it can be super hot as well. So yeah. So these are the 2 things that I would I wish I knew before. So
that's great. I think it's really good reflection on the times when you came to Canada. There was probably not a lot of jobs available for sure. Right now we seem to have a large number of opportunities, especially in the service sector. So people might not struggle quite in the same way to get that first part-time job. Yeah. But I hear you when you talk about that full-time position. Yeah. Once you graduate, I think it's prudent for people to know they're going to apply for lots and lots of jobs, and so do so many other people. Yeah. And you might not get shortlisted or called for an interview, and it can be discouraging. So that persistence is a good message.
Yeah, and I might because I was in my second semester to looking for the job, not even waited for the final term. So that could be also a matter of taking long because I was not finishing my program. So, there were a lot of factors, but you just need to keep going on with that.
Yeah, good points. Yeah. Can you tell us one or 2 ways that your institution really supported your successful transition from international student to international graduate?
So there are a couple of departments, my apologies if I don't take all of the name, but definitely I would give kudos to Center for International Experience team, School of Business team, last but not the least, our Career Development Center. So Center for International Experience, their advisor were they really helped me for the immigration advice. And School of Business, they always make me aware of what are the opportunities for volunteer or any events that are going on campus or even outside Capilano to support me with my mental health and wellness, because normally everybody feels homesick when they are away from the home. So they always I still remember one of the instructors, they invited us for a Diwali festival where we can just go and meet with the it was a chamber. I couldn't recall the name, but we just went there. We have a food and we celebrate the festival, which is a great experience for me. And they also not only for study wise, there were some personal challenges going on in my life through when I was in my final semester. My dad had an accident back home, and then both departments really supported me and boosted my confidence. As a result, I was able to graduate with distinction, regardless how many obstacles were in my way. So I would just say thank you to all of the staff members for helping me throughout these tough times.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's great to recognize some of the people that really helped you through the way, or the departments that helped you through the way. But I also think that, it's your sort of commitment, and, students do also have to persevere through some really difficult times. Life happens, and sometimes life incidents are not positive. So, it can be quite a struggle. And we know also there's a honeymoon stage to these kinds of education experiences where you join, you're excited, everything's full of life and wonderful. And then all of a sudden you find out how Canadians do things, or the rules that you have to adhere to, and you're like, really, so these can be some of the challenges that we face.
Yeah.
And I know that people have heard me say it's kind of like getting married and being so excited about your relationship, and then finding out that your husband or your wife is leaving their dirty socks all over the house, and you're thinking I didn't buy in for that kind of thing, but you adjust over time.
Absolutely. And you just reminded me about one thing, when in India, even I am from the northern side, we don't have a snow or anything, and I was very excited for the first snow. But it was a brutal experience for me walking on the snow with the leather shoes, because I didn't know which shoes I need to wear. And after that, I just committed, snow is always good. Either you are watching a movie or you are in house. So, but it's really hard to walk on a snow. Especially snow.
Yeah, but there's lots of fun about snow too. Don't forget, you can learn to ski, you can go up the mountains. So there is some fun aspects of the snow, and we're big on winter sports. Yeah,
absolutely. If you have right equipment, snow is great. But if you're in the wrong shoes, then definitely it's not.
Perfect, exactly. Thinking about your work experience journey during and post studies, what were the key factors to your own employment success? How were you successful?
One of the things that I always hear back from my colleagues in my 5 years of career, especially at Capilano, my openness to learning, any changes or anything, I just get excited and get involved in a testing project or anything and get it done. So most of the people always give me compliment. You are very open, you are very receptive, and this kind of positive attitude really helped me to go along, going up in my career. The second thing is also what I understand about the mistakes. If mistakes happen, just make sure to learn from them and move on. Don't hold on to them, because if you hold too tightly to them, it will impact. At some point, it will start impacting your self-esteem and confidence, which will be not good, and you might be under depression or something. So never repeat the same mistake. Find something new to try to give experiment and learn from it. And again, the same journey will start. Move on.
You remind me of two sort of relatively famous kind of statements. One is to err is human.
Exactly.
So move on is a good strategy. And the other thing is probably something that we should all remember, and that is most companies hire for attitude. And if we can have those positive attitudes and excitement and enthusiasm, you can go a long way for successful employment for sure. So it sounds like you've mastered those two things.
Thank you. And last but not the least, be empathetic. Like always think about other people. It might be not a good day for them. You never know what's happening in somebody's personal life. And so even something happened, just feel how, if you are not feeling great about somebody, just take a moment, reflect on it, and try to maybe reword the conversation that you want to have with somebody. And instead of asking them, why did you do this to me? Ask them nicely, what happened? Is everything going okay? And then start the conversation and then, build on to that. So being feeling somebody's shoes, where they're pinching will always be a great aspect, and it will help you to have strong relationship building with your colleagues all the time.
Yeah, that's so thoughtful. I really appreciate that kind of insight. It is important for us to be looking at the other person and not being judgmental and not making assumptions. We don't know what's happened in the morning for that individual. So yeah. Good points.
Yeah, it might be a bad traffic on the road and somebody's getting late for their important meeting, and then things
exactly.
happen. Yeah.
Exactly. Listen, I realize that recently you became a Canadian citizen. When did you imagine that could happen, and what does it mean to you today?
To be honest, the moment I stepped my foot in this country, I fell in love. And becoming a Canadian citizen is I write it down on my to-do list that one day I will be part of this great community. So now I have achieved this goal. It's the feeling of belonging. I feel proud to be a part of a multicultural country where I will be respected for my unique identity, and I will contribute the same to the community as a Canadian citizen. That's my, it's a feeling is great. Can't explain in the word, but I was really, really happy on the day when I had my oath. It's a special, even though it was online, but the moments were very special for me.
I think that's, it is a very special day when someone chooses to become a Canadian and goes through the training and the work and the learning and to actually reach that goal. So personally, because I have known you for such a long time, I think Canada is really lucky to have you. And, I'd like to welcome you on behalf of our whole country to becoming a Canadian, and congratulate you for that great accomplishment.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Do you have any sort of specific questions or short story or any key messages that you would like to share with either future students or maybe institutions that support students?
So one of the thing I will start with the institution, and my only a suggestion is do some having pre-check-ins and orientations are great, but if we can also have a post-check-ins a session with all the student in the third month or second month of their first term, it will really help them, because the moment you land to a new country, first of all you are jet lagged. And English will be a very new language for you because you haven't spoken that language for 24 hours in a day. I didn't. I used to have few hours. So on a pre-check-ins and orientation, the information that we are giving to the student, it might be just going over their head, and when they actually need those services, they have no idea. So once they settle down in a first month and now they are quite a little familiar with the system, then if we give them some information, it will really help them to use the services wisely and resources if they need help, like counseling, other stuff. So maybe some of them, not sure which institution are doing it, but if all institution can do this one, it would be very beneficial for international students.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I think, as I said earlier, that honeymoon phase. So it is kind of good to sort of catch up with people a few months later. Would you recommend that that's done on an individual basis or in a large sort of group basis?
I would prefer like they should go into their classroom and just talk to them, because regardless it's the individual or it's like a special session, until you provide a food, I'm not sure if somebody will show up on those ones, because they are not sure what is meant for them, right? So I like, if we can based on just giving them this would be the session and these are the services. If you want to know more, come into our office, and then you can just work on then individually basis we can work out. But we really need to know them, the services are there, and no doubt every institution is doing their best to support international students. It's just sometime even we provided information, if the person is not in the stage to receiving it, it's just bounce back. So, and when they need something and then they look around and they couldn't find anything. So that's it's just being a little bit more commitment and doing something little beyond from our daily the normal routine.
So yeah, so I think I'm hearing you. I think institutions do a good job, and they certainly have their heart in the best place to provide students with all the resources as possible. But I think I'm hearing you say reinforce it, because students are not always listening until they all of a sudden need it. And somehow we have to find a way to get them at the right moment for them.
Yeah, and my messages for students or current student is the same. The commitment that institution have it will be not reaching to its goal if the student don't ask if they need help or something, right? So it's the both ways. It's the shaking a hand. If institutions are committing to do more for the students also need to be receptive and ask for the information they are looking for. My instructor, Robin Furby, from School of Business, Capilano, he always used this quote, squeezing wheels always get grease. So, you can't figure out everything in your life by yourself, and daring to ask will help not you to avoid risk in your studies or especially in the early stages of your job, but it will also help you to develop this habit long term, which will be a great beneficial in the career. Because some of the culture, in some of my part of my countries, asking there's an assumption that you need to know everything by yourself, which is not very good. So I will encourage students to if you need something, definitely ask. Otherwise, nobody knows.
Yeah, I think that's really a good point. Asking questions. I think I would like to add to your suggestion to make sure you're asking the right people. Go to the right source. Sometimes we think that our friends will know everything, and our friends will only know part of the story or part of the information, or maybe they're sharing what they assume rather than what's fact. It's just more important for students to know, go to the institution, go to their instructor, go to their advisors, go to the international department, get the right answers from the right location, the right people.
Exactly. And I was when I used to be a student, I always tell to my friends or any students coming advice to them, I said, go to the person who is getting paid to give you advice, because the advice will be always correct for you. So you just reminded me about that when you're saying going to friends, they are looking for a free advice, which may cost you a lot of time. It could be very heavy on you. So absolutely. And the second message that I really want to share, be respectful and patient. It's an old saying, treat the people the way you like to be treated. So always be respectful to others, choose your word carefully, and listen to others first before you pass on a judgment or conclusion, because it's Now the world is all about emotions, and we need to be very careful what we are trying to say. And we already touched on that one. Just like, think about it and just reword yourself, and it will help for the conversation.
Right. I think it's always great for us to look at all the body language as well, like when we're talking to people, to make sure that the message that you have given has been received in a way that, was intended and not being misunderstood in any way too. I think the response that you have in terms of asking questions was really, really super valuable. And I think that's a great way to sort of, leave a message for students, is that don't be afraid to ask. It's a typical behavior to ask in Canada. We welcome questions and we encourage questions, take advantage of the people's willingness and ability to answer your questions to support you through your journey.
Yep, absolutely.
So great to talk with you today, Jazz. And again, it's been a pleasure knowing you for so many years and working with you during your journey as a student. And I'm so proud of where you have achieved, of all what you've achieved today, and being a graduate, an employee, and even an ongoing mentor to students and to others. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And it's always like a pleasure to talk with you and refresh those all great memories, because those years are golden in my life. So now I am just getting the glimpses, and you might have seen spark in my eyes, because when you touch on something and I just remember something, that was happening. So it just gave me excitement about that. But it was great. Thank you again. Thank you to everybody who have helped me throughout this journey, and keep in touch.
Great seeing you, Jazz. Talk to you again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.